I guess I shouldn't be surprised at all that Carole and Tuesday has surpassed all my expectations, mostly because Watanabe's directing it and everything he's worked on has been one of my favorites. From the key visual alone, I was expecting this to be more like Kids on the Slope and just be more like a modern setting, but I'm happy to say that this is actually more close to science fiction works. This is set on the planet Mars, where it's been completely terraformed, which is really cool. And Watanabe has usually worked on science fiction stuff, it seems, for like Cowboy Bebop and Ergo Proxy, and even like this Blade Runner anime. So he clearly understands like the aesthetic of cyberpunk in general, and that's something I want to talk about. Now, I'll get to Elon Musk, but I think it's important to first talk about the aesthetic of cyberpunk. And I haven't done any of the necessary research on this, so I'm going to be kind of using Cut Velocity's video on cyberpunk as a jumping off platform. And I highly recommend you check it out because it summarizes perfectly what thinkers have said about this aesthetic, and it should be more informative than this video. But as that video states, cyberpunk started out as literature reflecting the conditions it started out in. The internet was expanding, postmodernity, increased power of international corporations. And as Cuck Philosophy concisely put, cyberpunk reflected a sense of cultural acceleration. Later in this video, there's a quote from Frederick Jameson where he says, "Aesthetic forms live and die according to how well they stage and resolve social and cultural anxieties of their time." And according to him, cyberpunk has kind of failed at this. Cyberpunk is now retro in a sense. We still have works that are cyberpunk, but it's just not as in the cultural psyche as it was once before. Paraphrased by Mark Fisher, the future of cyberpunk succumbed to retrospection. And what does this have to do with Carole and Tuesday? And I honestly think this is kind of developing a new aesthetic in a sense. It seems like now the main focus on anime in general is this theme of connection. Now this is nothing new. I don't think connections is anything new to art. Actually, most art has probably been just examining how humans connect to each other in general. But the new theme is how do we connect in this world where technology has alienated us from each other? Cyberpunk kind of asked this question with the cyborg, and this was kind of like an existential question of like, what does it mean to be human? And while this is cool and all, I just feel like this question is like a bit too existential for most audiences, so I think the new aesthetic is more leaning towards how do we deal with connections with this modern platform of social media. And looking at anime, this theme of connections seems to be making it more like massively popular. I mean, just look at the success of Your Name, A Silent Voice. Other examples might include the TV series Gatchaman Crowds, which might not have been that popular, but it deals with like how can social media be used as a tool to help people and how everyone can be a superhero. It's like the Spider-Man of social media. And then we also have this season Sarah Zanmai, which is literally all about connections, and maybe some butt stuff too, but yeah. So, as Cuck Philosophy mentions, we're going to need a new aesthetic of cognitive mapping to further culturally accelerate. And I hope this is kind of the aesthetic we go towards, because it deals massively with our current society. It critiques a lot of the problems we have in a more bright and poppy way. Where Cyberpunk failed, I think it's because it was a bit too punk. It's dystopian, and dystopias are kind of depressing. I don't think that's like going to orientate us towards change as much as it should. Because there's a real longing, it seems, in these anime, where the theme is about connection. People want to connect. They don't want to feel existential dread about, are they even a human, or are they a cyborg? They want to connect with people. And I think Carole and Tuesday does a great job of just showing how you can connect by making art. In Carole and Tuesday, 99% of hits are made by AI. And I feel like with the current state of YouTube and other social media, we just feel like we're dominated by this algorithm. We have no control over our art. It's just dictated by how well the algorithm promotes it. It's less about human interaction now than it is more about following trends. And it seems like there's even AI like making videos and outputting them faster than anyone else can compete with. And these AIs are made by like people who are trying to scam others and bypass YouTube's detection system, but they're actually getting views, and that's very disturbing. So when a guy like Elon Musk says AI is a threat, he's probably right, but I don't think we should be listening to this guy when he does nothing but perpetuate the current system and the status quo. I mean, if we look at this guy's Twitter, he's literally going to trial because he called a British cave diver a pedophile for trying to rescue children. And also, just a couple days ago, he tweeted mentioning like the sex film filmed in an autopilot Tesla. I mean, this guy has no style. This is just like next level sinister marketing, where he just makes a fool out of himself to bring attention to things. And it just feels like he's catering like to this young audience and just gaining this cult following of memers. And it's just not healthy in any way, it seems. This theme of connection, well, Elon Musk has no idea to connect. He has no idea how to connect with even his ex-wives. Let's put it that way. And Elon Musk is the face of like this mission to Mars and how we're going to live on this place. There's this one clip saying how the Martian government will probably be direct democracy. And obviously I don't think Elon Musk is going to make the government of Mars. But are we really going to trust that this Martian government will expand from a direct democracy to like something healthy when Elon Musk doesn't even have like democracy in his workplace. Current space endeavors are like a battleground for billionaires. We already see Elon Musk firing shots at Jeff Bezos and Jeff Bezos firing back. And more than that, countries are seeing the space as an arms race. There's this treaty called the Proposed Prevention of Arms Race in Space, and its goal is to strengthen the Outer Space Treaty, which prohibits like nuclear weapons in space, but doesn't really prevent any other weapons being in space. And the US does not want to sign on to this. So it seems like, yeah, the space race is in full throttle. People want to weaponize space. It's inevitable. And any developments made to go to Mars, how can we say they're not just like turned back on developing weapons? So it's clear even if we get to Mars, it's like none of these problems will be even fixed. They'll be made worse. I don't understand why we should be trying to live on another planet when we can't even inhabit our own planet correctly. Carole and Tuesday is massively critiquing our own material conditions, and asking how can we have our future set on Mars when this is the state of affairs? I mean, let's just look at the first city that they develop on Mars. Its name is Alba City. Now this is obviously in reference to Alba Longa, which was the city where Romulus and Remus came from, and before they started the city of Rome. And it's clear here that, like, they went to Mars, they made this new city, and then they just built an empire again. They just did the same thing over again that they just did on Earth. Congratulations, you did it. So it's clear here that on this planet, capitalism is still a massive problem. Carole is job hopping from job to job. She can't land anything. Apparently most jobs are dominated by AI, of course, so it's even hard to get one of those jobs to begin with. And even on the website, just the intro to the story is, of course, critiquing the current world. It's an age where most culture is produced by AI, and people are content to be passive consumers. Yeah, that sounds a lot like our current society, where everyone's like focused on the coolest hit celebrities on Instagram, and it's just disgusting. If you want general connections on Instagram, you're probably on the wrong place. Angela in this series, who seems to be being set up as the main rival, literally accepts that she will just be a marionette, that she will just be this vessel to exploit, to send messages to the masses. She's not an artist, she's just a doll. So Carole and Tuesday from the very beginning are set up as the duo that will change the face of Mars and the culture. And it's clear the AI have failed. They may make 99% of the modern hits, but they lack that feeling of connection, that genuine sense of connecting with other people. All they do is maintain the status quo. And it should be very gratifying to see this flipped on its head as Carole and Tuesday change this society, because things will need to change. There's no value put on humans themselves in this society. It's completely unhealthy. There's this one scene where Carole gets a new job, and her role is literally to cry at a funeral for a deceased person and fake these emotions. I think going forward, this new aesthetic should be based on genuine emotions and not like this corporate, fake bullshit that we have to put up with now. We need real connections. And I think Carole and Tuesday is a great show to demonstrate that.